والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بهديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, chapter number 24 from wal-Marjan, hadith number 39. The author rahimahullah says, باب بيان حال إيمان من قال لأخيه المسلم يا كافر. حديث عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أيما رجل قال لأخيه يا كافر فقد باء بها أحدهما. Chapter number 24 says the state of Iman of the one who says to his Muslim brother, Ya Kafir. Hadith number 39, narrated Abdullah ibn Umar anhuma, Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, any man who says, Ya Kafir, oh you infidel, oh you disbeliever, to his brother, فَقَدْ بَاءَ بِهَا أَحَدُهُمَا, and one of the two will have it. It will prove true to one of the two. Either the brother that he said this to is actually a kafir, and if not, then it will prove true upon him. This chapter heading is placed in Kitab al-Iman, the book of Iman, to prove there are things that you say and do which can injure and which can harm your Iman, as we have mentioned many times. From the belief of the Quran al-Kareem and the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the Aqidah that was held on to by that chosen group of Muslims, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Ahlul Hadith, is that there's things that you can say, things that you can do that can harm your Iman, that are dangerous and have a very bad adverse effect on your faith. And from those things is making takfir upon your Muslim brother unjustly, or you have doubt and suspicion, or whatever the case may be, you declaring your Muslim brother to be a kafir, or even if he isn't a kafir, just saying that to him and addressing him in that manner is something that can harm your Iman. Whether it takes your Iman away 100%, or whether it takes percentage from your Iman, lessening, decreasing your Iman, etc. So this statement is to say, Ya Kafir, O Kafir, to your Akhi al-Muslim, it says, his Muslim brother. Hadith Abdullah ibn Umar says that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ tells us, فَقَدْ بَاءَ بِهَا أَحَدُهُمَا. He says one of the two will have it. Whether he's right or he's wrong, it's going to prove true for one of the two. So this hadith, it teaches us the danger of rushing, the danger of hastening, making a Muslim and declaring a Muslim to be a non-Muslim. It is dangerous. It is not absolutely forbidden. It isn't absolutely prohibited. But it is something which is extremely dangerous. And you have to be very precautious when doing. Saying to a Muslim, someone whose Islam has been proven and whose Islam is established, you say, Ya Kafir. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he says, someone is going to be like this. You're gambling with your Iman, with his Iman, so on and so forth. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, هذا حديث مما عده بعض العلماء من المشكلات من حيث أن ظاهره غير مراد، وذلك أن مذهب أهل الحق أنه لا يكفر المسلم بالمعاصي كالقتل والزنا، وكذا قوله لأخيه كافر من غير اعتقاد بطلان دين الإسلام. وإذا عرف ما ذكرناه فقيل في تأويل الأحاديث أوجه، أحدها أنه محمول على المستحل لذلك وهذا يكفر، وعلى هذا معنى باء بها أي بكلمة الكفر، وكذا حار عليه ومعنى حديث رجع عليه أي رجع عليه الكفر، فباء وحار ورجع بمعنى واحد. والوجه الثاني معناه رجعت عليه نقيصته لأخيه ومعصية تكفيره، والثالث أنه محمول على الخوارج المكفرين للمؤمنين. وهذا الوجه نقل القاضي عياض رحمه الله عن الإمام مالك بن أنس وهو ضعيف، ولأن المذهب الصحيح المختار الذي قاله الأكثرون المحققون أن الخوارج لا يكفرون ولا يكفرون كسائر أهل البدع. والوجه الرابع معناه أن ذلك يؤول به إلى الكفر وذلك أن المعاصي كما قالوا بريد الكفر ويخاف على المكثر منها أن يكون عاقبة شأنها عن مصير الكفر. He says here that this hadith, some of the people of knowledge consider it to be problematic. They consider it to be problematic. Whereas the Prophet ﷺ is saying something and it is not exactly what the Prophet ﷺ is meaning and intending. If you say to your brother, "Oh kafir," does that mean that you now become a kafir? You become a person of kufr? Is that what the Prophet ﷺ intended? He says here, there's no doubt that a Muslim who makes sin, such as killing, such as zina, and anything which is haram, or even saying to his brother, "Ya kafir," a person believes that Islam is the truth, and he calls his brother a non-Muslim. It doesn't mean that he's saying that your religion is false. You're a kafir because Islam is false. The Prophet ﷺ says one of the two is going to make kufr. Doesn't necessarily mean that. Everybody understand this? Rather, there's another intended meaning. And then there's several different ways of reaching that intended meaning. The first is that this is pertaining to those who believe that it's permissible to do so. It's permissible to make haram what Allah has made halal, make halal what Allah has made haram. Everybody understand? It's changing Allah's laws. طيب. And this was meant by ba' biha, that the kalima of kufr will fall back and ricochet on him. The second interpretation is that he will get the sin for doing it because it's not true, it's unjust. So instead of harming his brother by saying "Oh kafir," the sin is going to what? Bounce back and fall upon him. He says, and the third is that this hadith is talking about the Khawarij, those people who make takfir upon the Muslims. Muslims who drink, Muslims who beat their wives incorrectly, unjustly, Muslims who steal, Muslims who lie, and things like this. They say that they are not Muslims anymore. If you miss a salah, if you, even though that's an issue in itself, but just the concept of a sin. A better example, just a sin without pertaining to salah. Person drinks alcohol, they say he's no longer a Muslim. Even though he knows that the alcohol is unlawful, but they say what? He's a kafir. You're not a true Muslim. You're not a Muslim at all, rather. A woman, she leaves the home, she's uncovered, they say she's not a Muslim anymore. Tayyip, he says these people here, this is in brief, those who make takfir upon the Muslims. An-Nawawi rahimahullah, he refutes this claim, and he says that is not strong. Until the point in which he says, and others they say, is that this statement would lead a person to kufr. Because all sins are the bridge and the doorway to kufr. Waliyadu billah. Are the what? Are the doorway to kufr. والوجه الخامس معناه فقد رجع عليه تكفيره فليس الراجع حقيقة الكفر بل التكفير لكونه جعل أخاه المؤمن كافرا كأنه كفر نفسه إما لأنه كفر منه مثله وما لأنه كفر من لا يكفر إلا كافر يعتقد بطلان الدين الإسلامي والله أعلم. He then says, in the last interpretation is that فقد باء بها, that the kufr will fall back on him because he says not the takfir, he says not the reality of kufr but the reality of takfir, as if he's making takfir upon himself. This person is a Muslim, and if you're making him a non-Muslim, as if you're making takfir upon yourself, as if you're saying that you're a kafir because he believes in the same religion as you. He believes what? In the same religion as you. Everybody understand? It's like a person pointing in the mirror and saying, "Yeah, kafir." The believer is supposed to be the mirror of the believer. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Whether this or whether that, this shows us the danger of this act. And it doesn't mean that there is no takfir in Islam. And that if a person makes a major act of apostasy, proving my kitab, proving my sunnah, proving my ijma', clear, open, and manifest, and the person of ilm is the one who declares this, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's absolute. That's extremism as well. But to just throw it around and play around with it, okay, like a game, like a joke, like a cup of water. Oh, he's a kafir. Oh, you're a kafir. That is very extremely dangerous, extremely dangerous. The next hadith, under the next chapter, the author says, باب بيان حال إيمان من رغب عن أبيه وهو يعلم. حديث أبي ذر رضي الله عنه أنه سمع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول ليس من رجل ادعى لغير أبيه ويعلمه إلى كفره ومن ادعى قوما ليس له فيهم نصب فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. حديث أبي هريرة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا ترغبوا عن آبائكم فمن رغب عن أبيه فكفر. حديث سعد بن أبي وقاص وأبي بكرة قال سعد سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من دعا إلى غير أبيه وهو يعلم أنه غير أبيه فالجنة عليه حرام. فذكر لأبي بكرة فقال وأنا سمعته أذناي ووعاه قلبي من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم. The next chapter says, the author rahimahullah says, those who attribute themselves or those who disassociate themselves from their fathers, they know that this man is not his father. He knows this, yet still he attributes himself to this man. He says that this is not my father, but this is my father. He says this is kufr. Narrated Abu Dhar radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ said, any man who does this, ادعى إلى غير أبيه, he attributes himself to other than his father, while he knows, إلا كفر. He says, indeed, he will make kufr. And he will attribute himself to a people which he is not related, whom he is not from. He should take his place in the fire of hell. Hadith Abi Hurairah, number 41, the Prophet ﷺ says, لا ترغبوا عن آبائكم. He says, do not wish for ascription and affiliation to other than your fathers. For those who want this, then they have made kufr. And then, last but not least, Hadith of Sa'd ibn Waqas and Abi Bakrah, Hadith number 42. Sa'd radiallahu anhu says, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, those who attribute themselves to other than their fathers while knowing, then the paradise is unlawful to them. The paradise is unlawful to them. This hadith was mentioned to Abu Bakrah. He said, and my ears also heard this from the Prophet, from the Rasul of Allah alayhi salam. All three of these hadiths prove that this is a major sin for a man to attribute himself to other than his father. And he knows that this man is not his father. He knows these people, and he has no relationship with them, no affiliation with them through blood, through lineage, through emancipation and things like this. And he still calls himself to be from his family. Or he calls himself to be with this man or to be related to these people. This all proves that this is a major sin, and that is an act of kufr. Not necessarily meaning it's major kufr and he's not a Muslim anymore, but he has done something which is haram and which is unlawful. And this hadith also shows us is that there are acts which are called kufr, which are not major kufr. Acts which are called disbelief, but are not necessarily means of ridda, means of apostasy. A person is no longer a Muslim, but means he did something which is weakening his iman, puncturing his iman, lowering and decreasing his iman. As far as the issue that many revert Muslims go through today with regards to changing their last names. My last name was John Smith. And when I accepted Islam, I turned into Ahmed Ali. So I changed my name to Ahmed Ali. Or I changed my name to Abdurrahman Mubarak, for an example. Okay, many people, they mix these issues up and they get confused and they speak without the proper knowledge. If a man changes himself to Ahmed Ali, he changes his name to Ahmed Ali, has he attributed himself to other than his father? Is he saying that Ali is his father? Or he's saying that my Muslim name is Ahmed Ali. Nothing to do with my father or my grandfather, period. It's just a Muslim name. Everybody understand this? Many people, they may say that a person's name cannot be Ahmed Ali, and his name must remain Ahmed Smith. Everybody understands? Many people, they say this. Okay, we ask ourselves the question, is this what the Prophet is saying? He says, calling himself to other than his father. I am Ahmed ibn Sufyan. And Sufyan is not my father. That's not my father's first name, nor is my father's last name, nor is it my family lineage. If I come from a family of emancipated slaves, indentured servants, or whatever the case may be in America. Is that what the Prophet ﷺ said? Everybody clear on this? Let alone, is it Islam to have a compound name? Okay, that's another concept, to have a compound name. Is that the Islamic tradition for someone's name to be compound? Ahmed Ali. Or is a person's name to be Ahmed ibn Ali? Or whatever his father's name is. What's important is, if you don't know for sure, and if you do not know exactly, you have to be very careful saying that you cannot change your name like this, and you have to have a non-Muslim last name. Your name has to be Ahmed Smith. Is Smith the name of my father? That's the first question. Is that my father's name? Smith is not his name. That's a family name. That's a last name. Everybody understand this? So, yani, when a person speaks on these issues, whether supporting it or against it, he has to speak scientifically, with the proper dalil. That's only the first step. Alhamdulillah, you heard of a hadith, you read something, but you have to have the proper understanding and the proper application. The proper understanding and the proper application, both of them. Al-fahm sahih, wa-tatbiq as-sahih. The correct way of doing what the Prophet ﷺ intended. Everybody clear on this? So we're not here to say that there's halal or haram, but you have to be careful saying that you can't change the name, or you can change the name. Because it's long concept of Smith. Where does Smith come from? Is that my father's name, my grandfather's name? Everybody clear on this? Khayran, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we explained this before. What is important here is that these three hadiths teach us is that there are statements that you make that can harm your what? Iman. And decrease your Iman. Whether the Prophet ﷺ means kufrun duna kufr, minor kufr, or that the Prophet ﷺ means those who make it permissible, those who know it and they still do it, and it's major kufr, or whether the Prophet ﷺ is saying this and means as inhibiting the people from doing so. These hadiths, they also teach us the importance of lineage, the importance of genealogy, the importance of knowing your parents, knowing your father, your mother, for the purpose of rights, for the purpose of inheritance, for the purpose of the basic ties of kith. For the basic what? Ties of kith. And many Muslims, unfortunately, they'll go extreme in this as well. And lineage and genealogy becomes everything. They'll fight their brother for no other reason except for genealogy. They disassociate themselves from their brother for no other reason except for my tribe and your tribe, where I'm from, the border. Which is so silly because 60 years ago, there was no border. 100 years ago, there was no border. We were all one people. So, there's different seeds of jahiliyyah that are fueled and kindled by the kuffar for obvious political gain. It's evil upon evil. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Muslims fighting and killing each other for these kinds of things. This is what the kuffar want. They want this from us. So there's a balance in Islam. Who your father is does not determine to you going to paradise. Who your father is doesn't. But for you to know who your father is, to give him his rights, his respect, who's your mahram, who isn't your mahram, who do you inherit from, who don't you inherit from, who inherits from you, the women that you're allowed to see uncovered, etc., the rulings of blood, the rulings of genealogy, that is important. There's no doubt about that. To know who those who have rights upon you are, as family, as tribe, as kin and kith. But the concept of extremism, I'm better than you because of my blood. I'm better than you because where I'm from. Because I'm from this tribe and I'm from that clan. That is something that Islam came to totally abolish. To absolutely abolish. Chapter number 26, the author, he says, باب قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سباب المسلم فسوق وقتاله كفر. حديث عبد الله بن مسعود أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال سباب المسلم فسوق وقتاله كفر. Chapter 26 says, the Prophet ﷺ statement, Sibab al-Muslim, he says to verbally revile a Muslim is fusuq, is sin. وَقِتَالُهُ كُفْرٌ, and fighting him is kufr. To speak out against him, call him to his face a bad name, a bad word, he says is fusuq, is sin. And fighting him is kufr. Hadith number 43, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Sibab al-Muslimi fusuqun wa qitaluhu kufr." He says, reviling a Muslim is sin, and fighting him is kufr. In other words, when a Muslim fights another Muslim, he doesn't necessarily leave the fold of Islam, but his iman is what?
Weak.
It's decreased. It's deficient. It's weak. So this shows that iman is harmed by what you say and what you do, and iman is also benefited by what you say and what you do. Everybody understand this? And that there's depiction, there's usage of the term kufr, and it does not necessarily mean major kufr. How do we know when it is? How do we know when it isn't? Based off of the text. When it says kufr, al-kufr, faqad kafara, fa'ulaika humun kafirun, so on and so forth. How is the wording of the text? What is the ijma', the consensus of the people of knowledge? Did the Prophet ﷺ tell his companion to renew his Islam? Was he executed, etc.? We know when it's major kufr and when it's what? Minor kufr. So it's incorrect for a person to say that any Muslim who fights another Muslim is now no longer a Muslim anymore. That's wrong. That's incorrect. Just because the word kufr is used, it does not mean that it's what? Kufr akbar. Rather, there's major kufr and there's minor kufr. How do you know when and when not? Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yafaqih fi din. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for, He gives them fiqh of the deen. So if you do not have the proper fiqh of the deen, then it's your responsibility to remain silent and not to speak. And who is the person that told you that your opinion counts and matters? What you study in a Western university, of debate, of everyone's view is listened to, and we consider your opinion, and so on and so forth. That's not Islam. The concept that everybody's view matters and means something. Well, I feel and I think and I understand. If you don't have the proper qualifications, it's not for you to take that type of guess. It's not for you to take that type of estimation. And someone who comes with experience and knowledge. This is what based off of the rules of deducing and determining the meanings of the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And the hadith also shows us the danger of abusing Muslims. The danger of abusing Muslims. Physically abusing them and verbally abusing them. The danger of slander. The danger of cursing. The danger of becoming angry at your Muslim brother. And the danger of having bad temper. Having an anger problem, which you flare up with anger and rage and you punch your brother in the face. You kick your brother, you spit on your brother, you hit your brother, you pull out a gun on your brother or a knife on your brother. This is dangerous. And it is a means of kufr. Minor kufr initially, or it will what? Lead a person to major kufr and leading the deen, or those who say that it's permissible for Muslims to fight among each other. Chapter number 27, the author he says, Babu la tarji'u ba'di kufaran yadribu ba'dukum riqaba ba'din. Chapter number 27 we'll take, hopefully, in the next class. Wallahu subhanahu wa ta'ala alam.